We are live. You will see it. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. In the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most compassionate, the most merciful, all praise and thanks are due to Him. And peace and blessings be upon His beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. He who is guided by the will of Allah, no one can misguide him. And he who is misguided, no one can guide him except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I do bear witness that there is no God but Allah and Muhammad is his messenger. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala let all of us be from those who always advise and remind each other, inshallah, with haqq, with the truth and sabr and patience till we meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and stand before Him in the day of judgment. Respected brothers and sisters, I welcome all of you. Assalamu alaikum. Today I'm very happy, really. A few days ago we had a special guests. It was in Arabic. Now it's in English. Now in English, okay, I think we had now our final guest.
Inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum. Maybe he's not ready yet. Anyway, so MLFA. Now, MLFA, you will know what I am talking about just after I give you a very brief introduction about what I'm planning to talk about. Respected brothers and sisters, you know that in Islam we are proud that one of the most important pillars in Islam basically is justice. We are living and fighting for justice. We are spreading justice. Islam was established by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and by Prophet Muhammad on behalf of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told the malaika, the angels, that He is creating Adam and to let him be a successive authority on earth, He commanded us to spread justice in this life. Now, for many political reasons, for many historical reasons, Brother Hatem, can you stop the voice from your end? Yeah. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. We as Muslims, we believe justice is a core concept in our Islam. And we are fighting for this during hundreds of years. However, for many, many reasons, political reasons, historical reasons, now many Muslims, they are spread and living in many different countries. One of the most and best countries who are proud of having democracy and the human rights are the United States. Actually, many Americans, they believe that they live in the best democratic state on earth, which could be true for many. However, now Muslims, they are millions, and they cooperated and they participated greatly in empowering the United States for 10 of years with their brains, with their efforts, with their taxes, with their money, with their existence in many, many different ways. However, like any human group on earth, sometimes the power of the state, the power of democracy, the power of the law, which really we witnessed a lot of it, might be abused by some people of the power itself. So in these cases, when you are dealing with the great institutions, big departments, very complicated things, you need big people. You need people to know how to deal with the complicated things. You need to people because we believe that there is a good, very powerful, law system, which really you can have justice in many cases, but you know how to approach, you know with whom to deal, you know how to present your case. So when you face a problem in the United States as a Muslim, and the opponent might be a department from the government itself, you need MLFA. So, on your behalf, I'm very happy to have great three people on behalf of MLFA, which is Muslim Legal Fund of America. I will introduce them very quickly. Then I will ask them really to start welcoming you. So, on your behalf, first of all, I welcome Sister, the CEO of MLFA, the interim chief executive officer, the CEO, Sister Arshia Ali Khan, MA. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Arshia.
Wa alaikum assalam. Thank you so much for your warm welcome.
Thank you very much. Sister Arshia is a visionary leader with a professional career reflecting over 2 decades of creative, transformational leadership in corporates and non-profit organizations, and from high-profile organizations to local individuals and entrepreneurs. She serves as an experienced transformational organization development and a human emergence leader and advisor. She has led organizations effectively with cross-functional, multicultural teams to transform and expand organization through her career. In August 2018, Arshia joined the Muslim Legal Fund of America as their first ever Chief Development Officer, the CDO, and spearheading organizational development strategies, building development infrastructure, enhancing development activities, and planning. And mashallah, we can keep going now. On June the 2nd, 2020, she was appointed, Sister Arshia, by the MLFA Board of Directors to become the MLFA's first interim CEO leading the organization, this great organization. Sister Arshia, I'm very happy really to have a great person like yourself, and especially those people who keep claiming that Muslims, they don't open gates for women really to, mashallah. You are the CEO of one of the great organizations. So thank you very much for being with us. Ahlan wa sahlan.
Thank you so much.
Barakallah fikum. And on your behalf, I welcome brother Dr. Hatem Bazian. I'm sorry we were not able to welcome you because while were walking, the sound was very high, so I was not able to talk with you. Ahlan wa sahlan. We welcome on your behalf Dr. Hatem Jazahullahu Khairan. Dr. Hatem Bazian, he holds a PhD in philosophy and Islamic studies from the University of California and a lecturer in the field of the ethnic studies and Near Eastern studies. Jazahullahu khairan, brother Dr. Hatem, for being with us. And brother Ayman Aishat. Assalamu alaikum, brother Ayman.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Hayak Allah, Dr.
Allah yazdikum al khair. Brother Ayman Aishat, he's a public relation officer at the foundation and has a master's degree in communications engineering, a preacher, a human rights activist, a professional motivational speaker, and distinguished advocate in Islamic da'wah for nearly a quarter of a century in America. MashaAllah, Jazakumullah khair for being with us. Barakallah fikum. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept from you your deeds. I'm honored really to have you. Now I think my introduction should stop by here. It's just just the beginning. Really, I make dua for you that Allah protects you and give you barakah in your efforts, Dr. Hatem, Sister Arshia, and Brother Ayman, and all the group and the team who are working with you. Jazakumullah khair. Now to spread awareness, which is the main goal of this interview. Sister Arshia, when we say, how do you define MLFA? If someone stopped you in the streets, are you the CEO? Yes. Okay. Who are you?
So the Muslim Legal Fund of America is a 501c3 nonprofit charity. And our mission is to advance equality and justice for American Muslims and Muslim organizations by promoting legal compliance and protecting their rights in matters concerning national security law.
MashaAllah.
Essentially, the Muslim Legal Fund of America defends Muslim individuals and organizations towards any injustices caused in American courtrooms, in prisons, or in their communities, in the guise of national security.
Mm-hmm. Some people might ask, really, do you face any kind of injustice? Because some people think in the American dream, it's the paradise on earth.
I'm going to turn that to Dr. Hatem because he's the premise of what the American dream for American Muslims has been in our context. And then, of course, I can share my perspective as well.
MashaAllah. Well, thank you very much for this definition. Dr. Hatem, I welcome you again. MashaAllah.
Well,
last time when we did it in Arabic, you were amazing, MashaAllah, in highlighting history. And really, I learned a lot from you.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, we're all teaching each other.
MashaAllah, your understanding for the history and the comparison between what happened in France and in America and the law, behind the scenes. Sometimes the people, when they are ignorant about what's the reality in the history and behind the scenes, really they lose a lot of their rights. So basically, how would you like to introduce MLFA to the audience?
Well, I just finished a program, and that's why I'm in my car and I was walking, on the anniversary of Martin Luther King. And tomorrow in the United States, we have a holiday for really putting the contribution and the impact of Martin Luther King and leading the civil rights movement. And for those who don't recall, at least to remember, that the civil rights movement was structured around three important gains that we had. One is the Civil Rights Act itself, which to provide protection for marginalized minorities. At the time, it was African Americans, Native Americans, Latinos, Asian Americans, but those categories increased, which means that a protected minority that have been discriminated against in the history of the United States.
Yeah.
The second most important gain is immigration rights. Prior to the 1965 Immigration Rights Act, many of us who are in America today or their parents were not allowed to come to the United States. United States immigration policy favored whites. So much so that when we were doing research in a conference in Sweden, one of the researchers documented that during the period of the earlier part of the 20th century, the United States recruited 1 million Swedes to make America white again.
Wow. No, really?
Yes, from 1882 until 1965, you had what's called the Chinese Exclusionary Act, which excluded much of the Southern Hemisphere. So many of us are actually, our ability to be in this country, we're standing and being able to be in this country because of the struggle of the African Americans in particular that led to changes in immigrations. So the Immigration Rights Act. The third gain is the Voting Rights Act, which means that during the Jim Crow period, many minorities, Black American, Native Americans, and others were unable to participate as enfranchised citizens in the United States. So these are fundamental gains. So MLFA is continuing that struggle that begins with the civil rights to say that if you are a citizen, if you arrive in this country, if you have a participation in this country, you have the right for your constitutional rights to be protected. Yeah. Moving forward, post 9/11, we saw that Muslim civil and constitutional rights were violated. Yeah. So many of us became aware of saying flying while Muslim. Many of us were getting these 4 S's on our travel documents. You are extra special person, right? Which means as soon as you arrive to the airport, you're accompanied by 2 what you call official government butlers that will take you from the gates all the way to the flight, and usually it takes about 3 hours or so. They search your materials and so on. So Muslim constitutional rights were actually under assault, and we begin to say that Muslims are, in essence, are exception to the constitutional protections. And that's where MLFA becomes the flag bearer for the contemporary defense of our collective civil and human rights, because we are the canary in the mine, in essence, that the violations of Muslim civil rights, whether it's traveling, immigration, we have many Muslims that their citizenship papers were delayed, and I think Ayman is one of those, and he'll speak about their case. He's not an exception. There are actually many of these cases. Yeah. We have individuals that were unable to get their financial transactions being approved. We have the sending of informant into mosques to spy on the Muslim community and surveil. And we have the cases in New York, the cases in San Francisco, in Los Angeles, case on upper state New York, all these where the government are intruding on one of the fundamental rights, religious rights, and the rights to privacy. That the government should not be in the business of actually sending informant. Some of us who came from the Arab and Muslim world, we are used to having half of the mosque being the mukhabarats. But this is something that in the United States, we begin to see that the United States government, the FBI, hired 15,000 agents, and all of these were sent to mosques and to institutions to spy and collect information. And that's why MLFA's work becomes so critical. To donate to a charity while Muslim becomes under assault. To have a religious activity in the mosque becomes under assault. All these elements that we think America is in essence represents itself as a country of law, which might fit into a Hollywood movie. Actually, behind the scenes, the Hollywood movie script does not fit because it's been a massive violation. And I would say that the struggle for the Black Americans, this still continues hand in hand with our struggle. So I think it's important for us tomorrow to participate in many activities around Martin Luther King Day.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah, MashaAllah. You know, when you start speaking, you are like the flood. I mean, we can't stop you, MashaAllah. You know, this the flood of information that comes. I need to, because
it's research.
MashaAllah. And I will come back again to you after asking Brother Ayman about something, then Sister Arshia. But subhanAllah, I was just wondering why you are talking. If someone like your organization did not exist, how could have millions of people be aware of what used to happening, and still happening, and will happen? Well, I'm just wondering, you know, well, maybe you are just highlighting maybe 5% of what happens. Yet, I'm trying to imagine if people like yourself and other, you know, like the, you know, all, and really, we salute and we send our greetings to all civil rights, you know, movements who are trying to defend, you know, the weak people, those who lost their rights, those who are not able to defend their rights. But subhanAllah, alhamdulillah, that at last we have such organizations. Brother Ayman, and I know we'll come again back to you maybe at the mid or at the end to tell the people about the importance of supporting financially such an organization. But because I know historically, you are the big man historically. I mean, you witnessed the birth of this organization. Just so you have a special taste. Can you give us just, you know, like a highlight basically in a brief, I mean, when did this organization, you know, started? Why did you start this organization in Texas, in the United States, I believe about 20 or more than 20 years ago?
Sure. Jazakallah khair. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Barakallah fik, Dr. Amjad. Once again, may Allah reward you for your efforts and your, mashallah, your nerves in the same field that we are doing and the same passion. Jazakallah khair. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. We started actually Muslim Legal Fund of America in Dallas, Texas, just few days after the sad and tragic incident that took place in September 11 in 2001. All of a sudden, many Muslim activists, leaders, and imams were targeted, locked up, thrown in a prison, and unfortunately, several of them accused with very serious accusations of terrorism or being linked to any of these things, or even sometimes sarcastically really linking people. What is your belief? Your belief is the similar of other organization belief, then you are in trouble. Trying to scare the Muslims, and luckily the leaders in Dallas gathered together and knew from American history itself that the system is in your favor. You need to establish the legal defense team like many other minorities who were harassed before us. The system and really the structure that America and United States is built on, the separation of power between the executive branch, which is represented by the government, and the legislative branch that is represented by the Congress and the House of Representatives, and the judicial branch that is really represented by the courts and the judges and all of that. The separation of power really plays a big role in favor of the Muslim community, where when we are faced with these types of rights violations or harassments, that's when we step in, put the right attorneys, go through the court system, fight for the rights and for justice for the Muslim communities and individuals. We started it in a methodology that is called case funding, a case by case, and I believe the Holy Land Foundation case was the first famous case because many of our own brothers in Dallas and other cities were locked up for no justified reason whatsoever. That was a very famous case that we started with historically. We took many other cases. Even the imams, they were deplaned from the airplane just because one lady was suspicious that she's not comfortable in the airplane with 6 imams sitting there. Luckily, we won that case, and mashallah, that was a very good win. And then we started growing out of Texas to all over America. That's when we established and solely funded a law firm that is non-for-profit to support the Muslim communities all over the United States. That's the birth, that's the start, and that's the good point that we started shining more and more, alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah. Jazakallah khair, barakallah feek. Thank you very much. Back to Sister Arshia, the CEO of Mlfa. Can you highlight for us basically what is the vision and the mission of your organization?
Absolutely. I started with the mission, which is to advance equality and justice for American Muslims and Muslim organizations in the guise of national security. And our vision is really what Dr. Hatem was reflecting. We would like American Muslims to be treated like everyone else. American Muslims, I mean, there's been conflict in how we describe being American, right? We assume that we have rights. And I often bring this quote up in front of my clients and friends. When I was talking to Charlie Swift in my beginning of MLFA journey, he said, you know, Arshia, you guys as Muslims think that the FBI are looking for a needle in a haystack. He's like, you won't understand what I see until you understand that you are the needles. Right? Like that was really daunting for me because again, I know from experience and from being a Muslim woman in this community, what my own experiences, what my friends and community had dealt with, but we all think it's not going to happen to us. We all think we're not watching. I didn't know that the beautiful 4 S's that Dr. Hatem earlier described was because I was on a watch list. I used to get them all the time. I used to see horrified faces when I was in the airport. And I didn't understand why. There was a naivety and an innocence of just being American, just being me. And, you know, the Muslim Legal Fund of America really opened my eyes to all of those experiences where I was dealing with it as fear. And I had internalized that fear. I remember telling my children to stop talking and don't make noise and stand straight. And so there was an experience of trauma and panic that I was operating in this country with, because I was Muslim. I remember my husband in the airplane and we were just laughing and jesting. And I was expecting at the time, and I was being harassed by, you know, Americans on the plane. And when I walked in, they had made an announcement to like not say anything because my husband and I were walking in. And I remember again sitting there saying, wow, this is the first time in my life that people are looking at me, but I can't play or touch like there was just these eyes on me. And that is really where MLFA started to educate me and where I became more and more passionate about why this work is so important. We don't know what's happening, and that is not an excuse. We are going through these motions. We are being terrorized and traumatized and being stopped, and my hijab was removed. Like so many things happened to the community. And we think, oh, because we're Muslim, but that's not acceptable. And that's where MLFA is saying, you know, you asked me in the beginning, how I really describe it. I gave you the right answer, but the real answer is we're giving voice to the voiceless. We're shedding light on injustice. We are fighting for people who don't have the ability to fight. You know, a case of MLFA that really has changed me is, you know, we say in the Quran, saving one life is saving all of humanity. Well, my sister Noor Salman was taken from her home. I'm a mother, she's a mother. Her son was 2 or 3 years old at the time, with FBI's knocking and guns blazing, taken to the police station in the middle of the night. After 18 hours, she confessed to a crime she didn't commit, and then she was thrown in jail, removed from her son, drugged for 23 of the 24 hours for 23 months. If we did that case alone, we have done saving one life. She is no longer in prison. She was acquitted. That was one of Mlfa CLCMA's biggest and most historical wins, because in winning that, we set precedents that if somebody is in the guise of national security, you cannot take their spouse, their mother, their child, and say they are also terrorists. And these were some of the things, like, who understands what happened after 9/11? Really, most of us were actually very young, and we were kind of reacting to, and that's why I said those reactions set into fear. And when we are afraid as human beings, we're not showing up as our best selves. We're not confident in interviews. There were numerous times my father begged me. I was telling you I'm Canadian, so I would drive across the border, and I cannot tell you how many times my father would beg me to take off my hijab. When you're crossing the border, I should just take it off. And I would say, Dad, like, if I take it off, it's worse. Like, they have my passport. I wear hijab. Like, this is a conversation a daughter is having with her father because of the fear that American Muslims and Muslim Canadians were also in. So that is really where my passion, my drive, and my fire for this organization started to come to form, is that we need to exist not to win. And that's where a lot of people like, how many cases? What's the win? Everything we do is a win, because what we are doing has never happened before. So every time we were denied, we took a lesson, but we are trailblazing. Nobody dared, because we're all scared, to go in those directions. And we did do that. And showing up is half the battle in the legal system. And how do Americans fight through? That's why I turned it to Dr. Hatem. When you have Dr. Hatem, a professor who's specialized in Islamophobia, I don't answer that question. This is big and huge, and it's not starting from here. But as he said, and I believe that as well, we are part of this fight. We are part of the minority fight. We are part of the fight where Americans need to belong to the country we're in. And I joined, really, even for my sons, right? Mothers were afraid of, Black mothers are afraid of leaving their boys. I'm a mother of sons, and I was like, I'm afraid for my boys. And that's really, for me, what MLFA is about. But when you hit national security, and we can go into more technical issues, I'll end with this. Charlie Swift also said to me to kind of educate me, when somebody who has committed a crime as being stopped by the FBI, they're at a level 6 rector Arshia. So from 6 to 0 for them to be released. When you're a Muslim, it starts at 12. When you have, and if every Muslim is considered a pin in this pie, which means any of us, myself included, are watched or scrutinized, then when you get stopped, you're not at a 6. You're not at a murderer level with federal level. You're at a 12. What does that mean? Right? And so what is the thresholds that we have to go to? So we are fighting for due process. We are fighting to belong. We are fighting to be treated as Americans. And that's really our vision, that my children don't have to be afraid, that I don't have to be afraid, that we have the rights and the justices that were given to us by holding these passports, as citizens of this country and nation.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Wallahi, you highlighted very powerful things. I like two in specific. You said, what do we gain? Are we gonna win? We are, by opening the eyes of the people, we are winning. By saving one person and bring him to justice, we are winning. Giving voice to the voiceless. This was one of the best, really, phrases that you are briefing what you are doing. And I can feel, really, maybe you have something very special that we can't have it. Talking about myself, Dr. Hatem, Brother Ayman, you are a hijabi Muslim. I mean, your feelings differs, because three of us, and most of us, we can walk in the streets in the United States. Maybe no one will notice that we are Muslims, because millions of non-Muslims, they do grow beards, so it's not a big deal to know other Muslim, as long as with this kind. But with the hijab, it's impossible but to notice that you are a Muslim. So really, the suffering or the fear or the trauma, the expectations to be not yourself simply while doing nothing, and you are an excellent citizen, paying your tax, supporting, holding high certificates in high studies, doing, paying, helping out of a sudden just because of what you believe, even though the Constitution says one of the first articles, freedom of faith, freedom of speech, freedom of religion, yet some people, they are suffering. Jazakumullah khair for
I'm going to interject and just say one more thing, because what you're saying, I want to bring it home. When I told you that I was Canadian by birth and I moved to the US, in my interview in the first nonprofit space, I got this job and I was interviewing for director of racial justice. In the interview, the executive director asked me, I was newly married, I didn't have a child, and she asked me, how will I ensure that my unborn child will not become a terrorist? Like, I'm still, and again, God is my witness. It's full circle, because that was in 2005 and I joined Mlfa in 2018.
Oh my God.
When I talked to you about being a Muslim woman, I struggled when I joined this country, because I was like, but where did I go? Who was I saying this to? I was alone in this country. I came home and told my husband. She just asked me that in an interview. Is that even like, how do I ensure that my unborn child would not be? So that's 2005. So can you imagine, like, everything has grown since then, right? The terrorist watch list, like everything that we're talking about, the funding to Islam. So I'm going to pause there. But if you want to hear like what we're talking about, that's what we're talking about.
Wow. I will come back again to ask you about the new structure of MLFA. Up to then, I will return back to Dr. Hatem. Jazakallah khair. Dr. Hatem, now you came from pure academic research background. MashaAllah.
Theoretically.
Theoretically, yeah.
I have many hats. So,
I was going to say
pure.
This is one of the hats.
Yeah, I am. While I spend my time in the library, I spend as much time on the streets protesting.
Subhanallah, MashaAllah.
So I cover both.
So I want to get benefit from the hat of academia now.
Sure.
Now, due to your academic experience, plus your interest in the civil, movement of human rights, your knowledge about, Martin Luther King and the movements, the Black history, the slavery, all of this, especially, I mean, as an academic, you came across definitely what happened about McCarthy, for example, time, plus the time of the Japanese at the time of the Second World War, this kind of special camps. You understand these things, basically. Do you feel that you are as MLFA, a small island in the ocean, or you are inspired by others and cooperating with others?
Well, we're both simultaneously a small island in the ocean, but is looking at other small islands that collectively can actually change the tide. At a certain point, the NAACP was a small island that have shifted and challenged the United States. Racial policies, violations of the Constitution. So when we think of Thurgood Marshall and his taking on Brown versus Board of Education, and basically demolishing the apartheid structure that was present in the United States at the time. MLFA is in a similar position as the NAACP, as the Mexican American Legal Defense Fund, as the Japanese American Citizen League, which is also a legal arm, as the Asian Law Caucus. So it's always a small, committed islands of advocates for justice that take on the institutional capacity of the government to violate the rights of individuals. And in here, let me say the following. The primary violator of human and civil rights are governmental institutions without exception, whether it's in the world or in the United States. Individual violations could be accounted for. You could, what you call, have a civil recourse, file a lawsuit. You could take the government, but you take a company to the court. But when the government itself institutionally uses its own power to convey or remove rights, then you're dealing with a massive, massive violation. And we could speak about the Muslim world and we could speak about the Western world. they both engage in these violations in different way. And I would say many of our listeners from the Arab world, they say, oh, why you're complaining about America? Come and live in Syria or in Iraq or in United Arab Emirates, in Egypt, and so on. And they have a valid point in this. But each area and each government and each society has to be judged upon the principle it articulates for itself.
Yes.
So if you want to compare America to Syria, that's your own prerogative. But you need to actually compare America to the ideals that it professes.
Yes.
From its foundation all the way up to the present. When it says that all men are created equal, we have to know that women were not included, blacks were not included, Native Americans were not included, Chinese were not included, and many other peoples were not included. So all men created equal, which is only white men who own property that were included in that category. And it took a struggle time and time again to open that category to actually include all these communities to be involved and to continue the struggle for equality, for justice, for the ability for an individual to say, I have a citizenship and my citizenship means I have the right to political articulation. I have the right to have my own epistemological construct. I have a religious freedom. I have the ability to go to my mosque, church, religious center without have to be violated. I have the right to speak my mind. I have the right to publish. All these have been restricted to Muslims post 9/11. And more so, we are citizens on probation. I have to prove a negative in order for me to have an affirmative articulation of my citizen. That's what I have to prove. So that's what we need to actually make sure that we articulate this aspect relative to what's our citizenship in the current context, and how to make sure that when we say Mlfa defends Muslim civil and constitutional rights, to understand what that means.
Jamil, mashallah. Would you like to add anything, Brother Ayman, on this specific point about I have a dream like Martin Luther King? Actually, your dream came to be true, alhamdulillah.
Yes, true. Actually, I was a strong believer in the mission and in the work. And the practical aspect of the existence of the Muslim Legal Fund of America from day one. I was a big supporter and actually a volunteer to the organization from day one, even traveled outside of Dallas with them so many trips as a volunteer, motivating people, raising fund for them, simply because I had a strong belief what they are doing is the right work. Even my own case was on hold and was not resolvable. But because I have a strong faith that this work is needed and critical, if not for me, for others, and that's fine. I continued to support them. Later on, I joined. Even we won a very hard and complicated cases. The good news is Mlfa now is well known, and even the federal judges in the US courts are spreading this good word about the Muslim communities and their cases against terrorism accusations, that Mlfa and the team of attorneys that we fund are the team to go to for the hard and complicated cases to win against the Muslim organizations and individuals. My own case came to see the light finally not too long ago. Luckily, the right top-notch attorneys did the groundwork. They did a massive, important improvement in the case. And finally, the final push was needed a couple of months ago, and we came forward. And this is the key, the big lesson from it. Number one, we don't give up. The system is in our favor, and we work through it. Second thing, because of the challenges that takes a place to file a case, individuals in an average cannot afford a federal court law case. That's why it becomes a hardship. It becomes a serious burden. Even if someone has $1 million, he cannot just risk $500,000 to go for a case with a 50% chance of winning. So it becomes a zakat eligible. It becomes a community-based obligation. It becomes a necessity for the community and society to defend themselves, get together. Subhanallah, this is exactly what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to do. This is exactly what Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam wants us to be. Al-mu'min lil-mu'min kal-bunyan al-marsus, that believers to the believers are like the firm and solid wall. Support one another. Subhanallah, my case came to the successful end, alhamdulillah, after going through this litigation, putting the right scholarly known attorneys to work for the right cause, funded by the right community, with alhamdulillah a very nice and good leadership who breathe and drink and sleep and think 24/7 about justice, dignity, and very much equality for Muslim communities. We are very thankful and honored to have this leadership team with us to make sure we will go through it and ensure, inshallah, not a single Muslim American citizen would accept or even live as a second-class citizen whatsoever.
MashaAllah.
So our work is really to achieve this and make sure we are as equal as anybody else, regardless of the religion, culture, society, ethnicity, or whatsoever. We are just trying to live the constitutional right as it's been mentioned for everybody. We need to live it, enjoy it to the fullest, inshallah.
MashaAllah. I will come back.
Dr. Amjad, you allow me,
yes, please.
If I could say a few things, then I have to drop off. So I just want to make sure
please,
that...
please, take your time. I mean, sorry for taking your time. Jazakallah khair. Tafadhal.
No, not. You don't need to be sorry. We're thankful for your ability to actually give us the platform and to include Mlfa as part of your coverage and our organization. Nothing to apologize about.
No.
But whenever we talk about the struggle for civil rights, we always have to think that it's a multi-pronged strategy. We often think of Martin Luther King and the civil rights movement, and even all the way up to the present, only in the relations to one aspect, which is protest in the street, which is very important.
Yeah.
But if we actually think of MLFA's work in context of history, we are taking on the legal part of the struggle that was present in the civil rights movement. The NAACP was taking charge of the legal struggle in the same way with the ACLU and others at the time. Second, MLK also engaged in the protest, mobilizing people in the street, but also engaging in boycott of businesses that were not actually hiring Black Americans and minorities for jobs. So that was part of the strategy as well.
Wow.
Third,
yes.
There was also a legislative strategy seeking changes in the law. And that's where you have the Civil Rights Act, the Immigration Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act. That was taking place simultaneously. And then lastly, there was an educational research academic component that was also part of the struggle for civil rights. If I would look at the Muslim community, we are pursuing similar type of patterns. And therefore, if you think about the Muslim landscape, organizationally, civil rights engagement, civil society, and so on, we are pursuing similar type of steps, with MLFA taking the cases that are the most difficult, which is terrorism cases, material support cases, cases that involve security, secret information that are labeling Muslims as terrorists in that way. And we are specializing in taking that part of the defense of the community and proactively trying to change the law by challenging the government in the court. We don't have this idealistic, what you call lack of understanding of where the U.S. trajectory, but we take on the government in cases where we know the government is violating the fundamental rights of Muslims by labeling them or using the overarching arm of the government on terrorism cases under the Patriot Act and others. And therefore, MLFA is the go-to shop for the Muslim community in defending national security and defending cases of terrorism, because we know it's difficult on the individual and difficult on the community to take on those cases. As soon as you are charged with terrorism or given that label, even your cousin runs out and say, I'm going to Disneyland, because they will not answer your phone because they're afraid. And again, this is the reality, because many of the immigrants came from oppressive governments and so on, so they don't know how to deal with this. And therefore, MLFA steps in and say, we will take the case. We will talk to the lawyers. We will fundraise in order for us to actually make sure that the government is not using its undue power to actually derail people. And we have many cases of derailing people on all types of bogus charges, of all types of material support that is not there. For example, you have the Guantanamo Bay case of Yusuf Lee, who was the chaplain in there. They charge of material support for giving a baklava to one of the prisoners. A baklava. So now think about it, that a material support case built around a number of issues, but one of the issues of charging him of material support that he provided a baklava to a convicted terrorist. Right? We thought only your doctor will worry that you're getting too much sugar, but in here the government is actually trying to keep you on a diet and also making sure that charge you under this bogus methodology. So that's what MLFA's work is so critical.
So the baklava should have been sugar-free. I think in that case, maybe they will not charge him with anything. Sugar-free baklava.
Then they'll find if you actually use maybe what you call corn oil, which would be not good for your artery. They will find some way to charge you with it.
Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil. Hasbunallah
I know the reality is the theater of the absurd, but the government has limitless absurdity to throw in relations to derailing people and get them in circumstances that will possibly complicate and make their life difficult.
Well, Jazakallah khair for spreading.
So thank you for allowing me to speak to you, and hopefully both Arshia and Ayman will take care of the rest. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you very much. MashaAllah, you did a great part. MashaAllah. Jazakumullahu khairan. Fi amanillah. So, Sister Arshia, we come back again to you. Now, I learned and I knew that MLFA had a new structure. Mm-hmm. They restructured something they used to do it with a specific strategy for 20 years. Now you have a new structure and a new strategy. Maybe Dr. Hatem has already indirectly just touched part of them. So I need you as a CEO to tell us about what kind of new structure you have. Why did you do it? Mm-hmm. What are the main strategies? Then I will connect the same topic with Brother Ayman, especially about the strategies. Please, Sister Arshia.
Of course. Thank you so much again. So as Brother Ayman had started, when MLFA started, we were a group of civil rights activists in Dallas who were reacting to our brothers and sisters, our organizations being attacked. And really, there was never anything in this, this had never happened before. So none of us really knew what to do or how to take it. This is where the case funding model began. As community leaders were going at Holy Land Foundation and multiple other organizations, imams, community leaders were contacting and telling us that they needed support, MLFA would literally fly to or be in that space and collect funds, raise awareness, and rally around each of these individuals. This happened for 14 years. And it was obviously, you can imagine the challenge and the number of cases that we have taken. If you know anything about the legal system, you know that on average in the United States of America, to get a decent attorney in 2020, you're looking at about $300 an hour. Wow. So you can imagine the cost. Wow. And now that is just an average basic, between 150 to 300 is an average cost, I think. But if you're looking for a federal attorney, if you're looking for a seasoned attorney, so you can imagine the amount of money that goes into these cases. I was actually just on a call yesterday with a brother who was begging me is a hard word, but who was pleading with me or asking me if we can take his family's case because of the amount of money that has gone into it. We've taken his case and he wanted his other family members to come and can you take our case as well, right? Because there's a burden on these families. Like when you are facing the federal court system, when you're facing any court system, finances is a big strategy that people use to be able to squish people. So we did that. We did that for 14 years. Our team was relentless. And as Ayman said, they were around the clock trying to find the best lawyers who would actually even take our case. That was another issue that even recently happens, that people don't want to take these cases because they themselves assume that this person is a terrorist. It's really challenging to say I'm innocent when somebody is calling you a terrorist, which is a very scary word and a scary concept. So again, it's just, just kind of move yourself and be in that position if someone's coming after you. So 14 years, Mlfa did case funding, but we recognize that that is not the most efficient way of doing the work, and that we were only limited to the number of people that we could take on any given basis. So in 2014, it was the beginning of the CLCMA, which is our law center, a boutique law center that was funded by Mlfa to take on these cases in an institutional manner. So instead of paying lawyers hour by hour, which is what we were doing, we now took these donations and we started to pay salaries. So our lawyers would now be able to, instead of taking 1 to 2 to 5 to 10 maximum cases in a year or 2 years, this past year in 2021, we funded close to 112 active cases.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah.
So that is strategy one. So now, but we were still fundraising for that strategy. And when I was hired as the first CDO, as you mentioned, it was really, how do I turn this organization that was still operating after 20 years in a grassroots fashion into now an institutional model, where Mlfa primarily existed in the masajids because that's where the people were. But my responsibility is to now lift Mlfa into the world. As I said, as an American Muslim woman, I don't go to the masajids as often as I would like to. But Mlfa needs to be known not only in the masajid, not only in the Muslim community, but as a player in the civil rights and the civil liberties arena, as a player seeking foundational support, seeking grant funding, diversifying our portfolio, really looking at where our efficiencies are and how do we make ourselves stronger. So this year, in 2018, we started to really do an org assessment. We were looking inward, and actually we were preparing for COVID unknowingly. Unbeknownst to us, COVID was around the corner. So we were already looking inward and looking at where we can be stronger, how we can be sustainable, what was working, what wasn't working. And during that phase, that's when COVID hit. So our entire funding model, which was primarily masajid event-based funding, had come to a halt. So in that moment, the organization technically could have, been shut down. But again, we were there and we were already doing the work on ensuring that our mission is mobile, that our mission is diversified, that our mission is sustainable. And because of that legwork, we were able to switch gears and move our organization during this time and during the past 2 years into a more development model and a different framework. So I'll stop there, but essentially what we are doing is now ensuring that we are an institution, that we are funded, our funding is now diversified, and we're going towards different grants. So again, there's a different conversation to have, that our audience is not just Muslim, that it's a national conversation, it's a national audience. So really showing up in every space and being, in Linda Sarsour's beautiful words, unapologetically Muslim and unapologetically fighting for our rights as American Muslims.
Very simple, mashallah, mashallah. I'm enjoying listening to what you are saying, wallah. I feel really very happy when I see, the upgrading, the development from, as you said, grassroots, case by case, paying hour by hour, into a institutional, organized work. Instead of having 10 cases, 100 cases. It's a huge, really jump. MashaAllah, MashaAllah. I'm very happy to know that. On that same topic, brother Ayman, now as an observer who used to see a structure and a strategy, now you are living, witnessing, engaging, representing a new structure and a strategy. What do you think?
Well, alhamdulillah, as Sister Arshia mentioned, we are now, mashallah, grown up, more mature. Although 20 years ago we were a baby, newborn organization, now 20 years of continued work and success, with some challenges and obstacles here and there. Now at least we look back at the history, we learn the lessons, we go stronger, and we changed the model of development really to make sure, number one, we raise more funds. Number two, we take more cases. Number three, we have a bigger impact. Number four, we reach out beyond the Muslim communities and societies.
Subhanallah. MashaAllah.
Although the scope of the work is the same, protecting Muslim organizations and individuals, really uphold the constitutional rights and liberties for all Muslims, just like many others, and for all when really the constitutional rights and the words of the Independence Day speech and all of that, equality for all, everybody have the right to pursue freedom, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. We need to implement all of that on everybody, including Muslims. So we are emerging into real national organization, institutionalized work, system, process, while we are staying in touch and engaged with the communities at large, especially the Masajid and Islamic other organizations. We are in every conference, in every big gathering, leadership, and all of that. Yet we reach beyond the Muslim communities to make sure we have alliances, to make sure we have a backup from other civil rights groups. We make sure that we work with other experts who have the government legal compliance big door of help and support covered. That's why you see a bigger success. That's why you see more support. Even during the pandemic, when many small organizations had to technically shut down or freeze, Muslim Legal Fund of America, Mlfa, stood up proud, tall, emerged stronger, and continued to raise fund. Of course, thanks to Allah first. Second, thanks for the leadership who really believed in the cause and struggled and continued to work day and night. And number three, thanks for the genuine, sincere leaders and contributors and donors from the Muslim communities and outside who continued to support, who continued to send their checks, who continued to go. And by the way, all the listeners should listen carefully. They continue to go to our website at mlfa.org/donate. Very simple. Make it easy. Make your life easy if you believe this is the right work. This is the right way to spend your money tonight on a blessed cause. This is the right answer to have in front of Allah when you ask yourself this good question. What can I do to help Mlfa? It's very simple. Look at the screen. Dr. Amjad, mashallah, he just put it for you. mlfa.org/donate. There is no /Dr. Amjad, by the way. After donate, there is empty space. There is nothing. So it is very simple. mlfa.org/donate, and that will take you where you can spend $50,000 if you are listening to us and you can afford the $50,000, $25,000, $10,000, $5,000. Maybe some listeners think this is too much money. If that's all what you can afford, and it's $100 or even $10 a month, believe it or not, this is a good enough answer in front of Allah. If that's all what you can do, you just go log in and say, I will make this continuous charity, ongoing, $100, $50, whatever it is. It makes big difference in our work. The impact will be bigger. And just imagine if we save one life because of your donation. You should be thankful to Allah all the time. You should be proud of yourself. And you should know that you have a very good answer in front of Allah when we meet Him individually and alone. What have you done to push injustice away from the Muslim community? You can simply say, I went to mlfa.org/donate and I supported Muslim Legal Fund of America. And by the way, it is important to know that we are a charity organization. We are a tax exempt. We are not the law firm. We fund the law firm. We are zakat eligible. As I mentioned earlier in my answer, this is a burden on the community, individuals and organizations. Supporting us is supporting good cause.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Jazakumullah khair. Now, I want to ask Sister Arshia a question, but I need to know for sure what is the population of Muslims in the United States?
We are at 1.1% of the population.
1.1%.
Mm-hmm.
1.1. So you are talking about 5 to 6 millions or more? 7?
I don't know the exact number, but we are still a small percentage if you look at 1.1%, but we are a significant number, obviously, and we are growing. I think
so. Let's assume you are around 6 millions.
Mm-hmm.
So may I ask, mashallah, 6 millions, maybe, which contains tens of thousands of PhD holders, tens of thousands of master's degree holders, tens of thousands of business people, a few thousands of multimillionaires, hundreds of thousands of activists, especially on social media. Okay. So now, MLFA, what is your strategy in terms of reaching to those Muslims in specific, just to be aware about the importance of what you are doing? Do you have a strategy reaching Muslims in the United States now? Forget others outside the States now.
Yeah, and thank you for that question. I mean, as I shared with you, part of the work that I did when I first got there was looking at who our audience is and who had heard about it. And I've been in the Muslim nonprofit space for 17, 18 years before I came to MLFA, and I hadn't really heard about it. I heard about it through word of mouth. So that, again, who was our audience? And so part of my work at MLFA has been to get us out of the masajid community, not out in a way that they don't matter. They are our bread and butter, our brothers and sisters. And there's never a time where we don't want to be in the masajids, but we have to do more than that in order to capture, as you said, all of the millions of Muslims and leaders and activists and millionaires and billionaires that are out there. So part of our strategy is what we're doing right now. We're gonna, my role this year will be, last year, as I was sharing with you before we started, was really ensuring that the foundation of the organization was sound and solid, making sure that every efficiency, every best practice is either assessed or implemented if we can, or kind of a trajectory to that implementation. We launched a partnership last year, despite it being COVID and despite us having low capacity, with Lilly School of Philanthropy and their Muslim Philanthropy Initiative. So we took a program that was in-house at CLCMA and we expanded it to a university partnership, and we turned that into a 5-year minimal relationship where there's research, there's application, and there is programming happening. So those are some of the things that we're doing to expand and get our mission out there. We're also engaging with partners. So last year we did a lot of research on foundations and individual foundations and different programs that we can be a part of. I am engaging a lot with Brother Ayman more into the community. So, we were part of different community initiatives, different funding initiatives. I'm talking to our donors. I'm asking them to help amplify our work. And I think right now we're in the Muslim conference space, but inshallah, we're also, last year I did speak at some non-Muslim conference spaces, and that's some of the strategy that we're utilizing to really get up there. We're also building partnerships with our ally organizations. So ACLU. So I'm working on some grants and other, Southern Poverty Law Center, like other allied organizations who are in this civil rights, civil liberty space. We're also building relationships with them as well. And we're looking at where we can show up as leaders. And that's part of our strategic priority moving forward, is to be a national thought leader. So my ultimate goal with our website, which is just in its baby form right now, is to be the hub for national security for American Muslims and Muslims around the world, actually. So my goal right now, you have a foundation. I spent last year building the back end, but moving forward, I'm working on building the front end, the heat maps, the resources, the assessments, knowing your rights, how to talk to an interview. Like, we've done work for 20 years, but we haven't really pulled that work out to bring it forward. And that is what you're going to start to see, inshallah, as we move further into our own development as an organization.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Now, I will go to Brother Ayman. I will come back to you, Sister Arshia, again to ask you about the difference between you and CARE, for the people just to differentiate. But now I need Brother Ayman with a simple question. Brother Ayman, now, is there any room in the future to find a space within the law itself to be funded by the government itself? I mean,
Probably more me than Eamon as a question.
This one, really? Okay.
I mean, because
Okay,
again, the reason I'm jumping in it for that is because the funding process is something for us to really examine. And I am looking at funding, and we know other organizations that have received government funding.
Yes.
There's a lot of organizations. So again, we're treading carefully because again, and then this is the beauty of being American. Many people have asked me in my lifetime, do you wish you were born into another country? And I said, absolutely not. Do you wish you were a man, not a woman? Absolutely not. I chose to put on the hijab. That was my choice because I want to be me. I don't want to be me, a Muslim and behind the scenes. That's the beauty of being a North American Muslim woman. And that's what the approach is to the government. So I'm not fighting the government. So let me make that clear. We are fighting for our rights, for our government. As Dr. Hatem said, our government had made promises to us. And that is what we are fighting our government to uphold. And that is what every citizen in this country is doing. If you get a ticket, and you're just like, wait, why did I get that ticket? You fight that ticket if you think you got that ticket in a wrong way. And that's really the kind of basic space that we're going back to. We were reactive. We were afraid, and we should have been. There was a lot happening to us, but we're trying to move it to being empowered and to moving into belonging. And that's really how I'd like to approach the government for government funding. Why not? But we are the third sector. And that's the other thing. You have nonprofits, you have government entities and for-profits. We are the third sector, and we are filling the gap of the government and of the for-profit. And I hope, inshallah, that we can come to a place that we do it together. But we are fighting, as I said, for our rights to uphold the America that we were promised.
MashaAllah. One of the brothers from the Facebook, he's sending the greetings. You're a very good speaker. MashaAllah.
Thank you.
Alhamdulillah, mashallah. When you are a good speaker and you are defending your people, pleasing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah, this will multiply the ajr, inshallah, in this dunya and then the akhirah. Allahumma ameen ya rabbal alameen. MashaAllah. طيب, أنا الآن I need just 2 points. First point about what's the difference between the last point will be about final message from both of you. Before the final message, some people might ask, okay, we have CARE. So what you are adding, besides what CARE is doing, are you another copy from CARE or something else?
I'll start and I'll let Eamon kind of finish the answer. A lot of our founders were actually members of the community who had started CARE organizations. And they, in Dallas, as well as our board members, even currently today. But when 9/11 happened, it changed the game. So as we said, we are focused on national security. Those are the spaces that we took. We have specialized. We have taken 20 years to hone in and really specialize on that national security piece. And CARE partners with us in many spaces as well. CARE, and again, I don't want to speak for CARE because I know there are multiple CARE organizations. Generally, in civil rights, civil liberties, they are also working with hate and bigotry and ending those in civil rights. And Mlfa is not doing that. A lot of people have asked me, Arshia, can you come to my school and talk about bullying or Islamophobia? I say I do structured Islamophobia. I'm doing institutional Islamophobia. I'm in the courtrooms and I've been in the federal courtrooms. And that's why you haven't heard Mlfa on the ground, because that's not where we were. And that's not where we wanted to be. When you're fighting a federal case, you don't want the attention because you don't want to sway, we're dealing with juries and all these other things. So we had a different approach. We're still honing in and clarifying. And I don't want, like I said, my intention is not to speak for CARE, but when I can say for Mlfa, our focus is primarily national security. We are primarily in the courtrooms. We are primarily in the federal space. We don't do a lot of the state work. We, even when we come to the states, we're at the federal level. And that has been our focus. But maybe Brother Eamon can speak to more context, but that would be kind of CARE is my partner. CARE are people that I work with, and we see ourselves as allies. If we need to push each other cases to one another, we do that, and we do that across the nation. CARE has reached out to me for many ways. I reach out to them. So we're, there's no shortage. And I've been quoting Charlie Swift, so I'll say it again. The Islamophobia budget is in the billions, $20 billion. even if all of the Muslims pulled our resources together, 20 billion is a big number to go against. And so we don't need, I am really looking to define and collaborate on how we can dance together to fight, this injustice, and not really apart from one another. So we are different. We have some overlap. And we are really looking to work in partnership with CARE throughout the nation to defend Muslims' rights in the national security space.
Well, before I listen to Brother Ayman, subhanAllah, while you are speaking, I was thinking how sensitive your situation is. From one angle, you want support from nearly everyone. From another angle, you are fighting a very powerful entity in the courtroom, and you need less publicity because you need to control what happens, because it's a very sensitive, security issue, for example, problem. Really, I felt as if you are walking in a minefield. You see?
Yeah, that's exactly. Thank you for
one uncalculated step could destroy a lot of your steps. MashaAllah.
Thank you, Wallahi, for saying that. And I think that's what people didn't understand. And I had to be within the organization to understand that, right? And our focus is client, it is about the client. So at the end of the day, if we mess something up for our client, for funds or for anything else, we've lost it. So it is a very fine line, and it is something that we calculate and we move through efficiently. I mean, and now we have enough cases that we will start talking about them. But it was difficult to talk about them. And national security cases are not over in a day, in a year. And that's another thing we learned along the way. We thought on average case can take 2 years, 5 years. A lot of these cases, Ayman, is 20 years, 15 years, 12 years. There are systems in place to keep you in the system. That's how the system feeds itself. And so, again, there's a lot of intricacies here that you're touching on. So I'm grateful.
Big challenge. You reminded me from one angle. One part of my job here in Canada, basically, I do family counseling and marriage counseling. Once, one of the sisters called me from Ontario. It's about maybe 100, 200 city, far from my place. So I have an office. I welcome the people, listen to them. So I gave her I gave her an appointment. She insisted that does not suit her. Second appointment does not suit her. Then she said, I don't want you to meet in your office. I said, excuse me, there is no place outside to meet you. Then I was a little bit upset, but you need me, not me. Then she said, I can't see you at your office because everyone around you in the masjid and office, they know us as a family, and we will be in a big scandal. We can't let the people know that you are sitting with you. I said, oh, Allah. It did not come to my mind because I thought that no one knows them. So I was free. No, everyone knows them. So from one angle, you want, they need the help, but they can't come to you. You need to support them. Yes, and you can't tell the people that, sorry, I have to leave the place. I have to find another place because there's something no one knows about, the scandal, the psychological influence, the problem, the media, the spreading of the information. It's a big challenge.
Think about it for yourself. And this is where we also work with nonprofit organizations for that reason. And many of them don't want to know that the government is looking at them, right? Like, again, media is something, and people do get afraid, and that's a reality. So we are in a very delicate balance. You asked how we're going to reach. We're going to reach it one person at a time. We're going to save lives one person at a time, and we're going to reach the masses one story at a time. Our goal this year is to shed light. Our goal this year is to build partnerships and alliances, and our goal is to always keep getting better. We are against ourselves. I don't necessarily have an organization that competes with us, but I'm up against myself, right? We are up against ourselves to ensure that we are putting the best service out and for Allah. And I said this to my brothers as my team. We answer to Allah first. When you go to the masajid or you go into the world and you ask for money in the name of Allah, Allah is the first one who is going to hold us accountable. And that is why I said to you, we started inward so that we can ensure that we follow every single dollar and that our dollar is serving our mission, so that I can speak to anyone in the universe and say, we are doing the best we can with who we are and what we know and what we have.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. Jazakallah khair. Brother Ayman, continuing the idea of the relation between you and CARE. The reason why I'm highlighting CARE, because nearly everyone, when care is mentioned, care, we know Nihad Awad, mashallah, we know, it's in the mind of the people. So after highlighting the relation from your experience, do you think having more multiple organizations like yourself and care is better, or just focusing on two and supporting them?
جزاك الله خير. يعني it's good also to document and people who are going to listen to this video and interview come and listen to it again, and it's even for the future. It is good to know that where care is specialized and the wider horizon of operation and work that the care mashallah manifest in is different than what we do. We are focused. Our area of specializing is much thinner, focus on federal law, litigation, courts, and all of this. It's good to know that, mashallah, the founder and the current executive director of CARE, Brother Nihad Awad, is considered to be a role model for me among many other thousands of Muslim Americans. He's a very good friend. Actually, he was one of the keynote speakers of our recent online galas. Wherever it is good to document, we go for a main event for Mlfa. Among the CARE leaders of their chapters over there, you will see the largest support and biggest donations are coming from the CARE officers, CARE in charge people. If we go to Los Angeles, you will see Brother Hussam Aylusha is there and supporting. If you go to Florida, you will see Hassan Shibli is there and supporting. I go to Pittsburgh, and the CARE representative introduce himself and support us. Wherever we go, you see CARE people come and attend and support the work of Mlfa, because we are specialized, and in the area that we focus on, we have a lot of successful results. It does take a village really to raise $500,000 per case in average cost. And really, they realize that, understand that, and support us. Just like they send cases to us, we do as well. There are cases outside of our scope of focus. We send it to CARE, where CARE can really easily handle these type of cases of harassment at work, discrimination at work, and all of that. This is not where we at. We focus on constitutional right violations, and mainly by some pockets of the government, or really individuals, just to make sure we emphasize the point. We are not against the US government in itself, because the law is in our favor and support us. And if we hold the government accountable for the people who want to abuse the Muslim communities and organizations in the name of the government, we hold them accountable and we push them back to gain the justice for Muslims. So we are not really against the government. We are against those who abuse the authority and the position and the ability to harass the Muslim communities and violate our rights. That is our focus. That's where we shine, and that's where we need the support. And it is all based on the words from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, kunu qawwamina bil qist. All you who believe, uphold justice firmly. It is a direct command from Allah, and also it comes with a promise and a guarantee, an assurance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what he says in Surah Muhammad, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, in tansurullaha yansurkum wa yuthabbit aqdamakum. All you who believe, if you support the cause of Allah, Allah will support you and establish for you in the earth. And also fulfilling the hadith of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and this is exactly what we do. Man farraja an muslimin kurbatan min kurab ad-dunya, farraja Allah anhu biha kurbatan min kurab yawm al-qiyamah. Whoever ease a hardship of a Muslim in this dunya, Allah will ease a hardship for him in the hereafter. In conclusion, what motivates us as Muslim Americans, the wisdom that I learned from Imam Siraj Wahaj, because he lived it his entire life, he was successful with it. He learned it and he applied it in his younghood and throughout life. Fear, the word F-E-A-R, can be interpreted in two different straight meanings. Fear can be interpreted as forget everything and run away from facing challenges and be a coward and accept to live as a second-class citizen, which None of the Muslims or the believers in Allah should follow that interpretation. And the other interpretation is face everything and rise. The moment we have the courage.
MashaAllah, Sheikh Siraj Wahaz. It's a very amazing, clever attitude.
MashaAllah, yes. Because he lived it, and he gave a practical example in his life that he did it with his own older brother when they were in school. Yeah. And they had to face gang members in the streets of Brooklyn in New York.
Wow.
And they had to face, two people had to face a dozen of gang members, fight them back, because they were harassing them every single day, going to the school and coming back from the school. Until one moment, they stood up the ground and they faced these gang members, and never harassment happened to them after that. So Muslim communities, you have the law on your side, and you have the mechanism that will support you. The constitution is in your favor. We are flourishing. We are growing. Population growth for Muslims. I will give you an example of my own city. Right after September 11 in Dallas Metroplex, we had 7 masjids and few musallas and 1 Islamic school. 20 years later, we have more than 100 masjids and musallas in Dallas area only, alhamdulillah.
MashaAllah.
We have 12 full-time Islamic schools in our area only. We're growing big time,
MashaAllah.
but you need this unique national organization to defend your rights, protect your dignity, and make sure you live in freedom as equal as any other American.
MashaAllah.
Of course,
MashaAllah.
that cannot come without your sacrifice. That cannot come without your donation. That cannot come without you. Give back to this charitable organization from your hard-earned money. You defeat shaitan, you please Ar-Rahman when you go to mlfa.org/donate. Donate, do not procrastinate. Give fi sabilillah so we can flourish, shine, and be more successful. Jazakumullah.
MashaAllah. So we have to adapt Siraj Wahaj's policy with regard to fear, the second interpretation.
Of course. Face everything arise.
Dr. Amjad, I thank you. Yeah. Amen. You can see why he's one of the pillars of this organization.
Yes.
I say that to him all the time, partner and pillar. I just wanted to ask one more thing that you were talking about with between CARE and MLFA, and just to elaborate on the collaboration. This year, MLFA and CARE Chicago participated in the Community Collaborative Initiative, and we are developing the American Muslim legal ecosystem, a model so that all American Muslims and anyone in the United States can see what Muslim organizations in the legal sphere are doing. And so we are actually in this part of analysis and process, and we're looking at funding, and we're working with the Lilly School of Philanthropy also in this, and other donors and funders. So we are really looking at this question because it serves all of us if everybody knows where to go for what kind of help. As you said, you're a counselor, I am as well. And when somebody comes to you for the wrong reason and you can't help them, it hurts you when you can't help them.
Yeah,
it actually hurts our organizations, especially when our capacity is low. So inshallah, keep your eyes out as we develop this model and we put it into the world. Anyone can come to our websites and see who we are, what we do, and what the gaps are, so that and who is addressing those gaps. Because again, we are small, but we are fierce and we are mighty. And inshallah, with the help of Allah, we want to be able to serve our community in the best way possible.
MashaAllah. Before the final message, another question came to my mind now. Is there any strategy with regard approaching the mainstream media? I mean,
yes. So I didn't go into today. You asked me. I'm going to say what our strategic priorities are. And will be. So I'm going to list them. So our strategic priority number 1 is to strengthen and to protect the Muslim nonprofit community. We do this through our law center and through the partnership with Lilly School, as you said. And as I was sharing with you, we are also becoming a thought leader, so this information will be kind of accessible. Our second priority is to prevent unwarranted indictment of American Muslim individuals and organizations. And our third is to increase reach and effective impact litigation. So the question that you asked, the way I kind of frame it is that we defend. That was where we started. I said we were hit, we started to defend. And then we started to educate and we started to train through the nonprofit. So the piece that is now part of our mission, but we haven't 100% really gone after it is the proactive arm. And again, that's a very big sphere. It's not that we haven't touched that arm. We've been in conversations. I've personally been in many conversations with leaders, humanitarian leaders, because we see the attack. We see the Islamophobia. We have Dr. Hatem in the Islamophobia Center. So we are mindful of this, but we also understand that this is not an arena that you go to if you are not prepared or if you are not fortified. When you go into a space like this, you become vulnerable. So we are working, we are planning, we are partnering, we are understanding before we actually move into that space. But inshallah, of course, we need to protect, defend, and educate, right? So right now we are defending, we are protecting, but we have not been proactive in this space because it is a space that we still need to work towards. But that is part of our strategic shift and growth as we move our organization, as we grow as a community. Inshallah, we will
MashaAllah. Well, every single Muslim in North America should be proud of what you are doing. MashaAllah. Yeah, really, I'm very impressed. Even though, I hosted Mlfa. Maybe this is my third or fourth time the past 2 years. But every time I'm learning something new, and I'm impressed with a new, beautiful, development that you are making. And mashallah, you are really, without exaggeration, I think they did an excellent decision when they decided to make you the CEO, mashallah. And you are a big added value, really, mashallah, with the way that you are handling. Jazakumullah khair for what you are doing. Now, I think maybe we came to the end of the meeting. I need like a final, let's say, word from you, Sister Arisha, then Arshia, and Brother Ayman, inshallah, before saying goodbye for the people and saying salam to them.
Final word. Join us, partner with us, be with us. If you don't understand, ask. If you want to help, please step forward. If you can support us in any way, we ask for support through talent, through your time, and through your treasure. This is not, I say this to everyone, I am just a steward. This is a responsibility. And we know when you take on a job in leadership, you are the servant to the people and you answer to Allah. So I am looking for partners and for allies. And if you have a skill and a talent and an interest and a desire to help amplify and elevate our mission, I invite you personally to reach out, to join us in this fight and be a part of our partnership and community, inshallah.
MashaAllah. Jazakumullah khair. Barakallah feek. And I hope every single person listens to this interview. If really he has any way to support, any way, at least if you can do nothing, you can make the dua for them. You never know. We call them in the Arabic Islamic terminology, sihamul layl la tukhti. The arrows of the night, definitely they do reach their goal. It's a metaphor. Yes, it's a metaphor to tell that, when someone makes the dua really sincerely and no one sees or knows or notices him, it's out of his sincerity. So the possibility of being accepted by Allah is very high, because there is no room to show off anyone. I'm just alone. No one knows what I'm doing, guys. So at least, please, everyone who's listening to us, make dua for them. Brother Ayman, your final word.
First, Jazakallah khair for your continued support, partnership, and being the voice, again, just like us, for those who do not have voice, and leading the work of awareness and education all over the world. Jazakallah khair, number one. And Jazakallah khair, Sister Arshia, for coming forward and help me here today. And for the audience and listeners, Muslims and non-Muslims alike. You see how noble this cause is. You see how critical this mission is. You need to come forward and support us. The easiest part, as Dr. Amjad mentioned, dua. And of course, giving up your money for this cause is one of the easiest things that you can do.
Yes.
So between all of us, we can continue this noble work and continue the success from one level to a higher level, inshallah. So Jazakumullah khair. If your community can invite us, would be perfect. If you have any question, just reach out to us. And the most important, if you need any help, let us know. Barakallah feekum.
I hope we will not need help from you in specific. We will make dua for you.
Inshallah.
It's like the doctor.
Do reach out. We are here, and I hope too that you don't need our help. There are many brothers and sisters who do.
It's like the doctor. You know, the doctor, you say you make dua for him to have a good job, but you don't wish to go to him.
Absolutely.
Exactly. But this is a life, and this is subhanallah the
Yes.
sunnah. As Allah mentioned, وَلَوْلَا دَفْعُ اللَّهِ النَّاسَ بَعْضَهُم بِبَعْضٍ. It is the sunnah and the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that people, in order for them to flourish and shine in this dunya, have to push each other to make sure peace have a place in this earth. We all know, as we are celebrating tomorrow, the legacy of Martin Luther King, where he says a threat to peace anywhere is a threat to peace everywhere.
Yes.
And as he mentioned, and we all should continue to mention, if there is no peace, if there is no justice, there is no peace. We want to make sure every single Muslim individual and organization live in America in peace. They deserve it. They are law-abiding citizens. They are highly educated, generous, contributing community members. They deserve to live as equal as anybody else, and in peace, inshallah.
Before I conclude and make a very short dua, I want just to remind every brother and sister who's listening to us that one of the most beautiful things in our great religion, this beautiful system of life that Allah has decided to make it the final revelation and message for humanity through Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is that after believing in Allah, that you will be accountable in the day of judgment for your intention and your efforts, not for the results. No, in Islam, Allah does not hold you accountable for the results. Results is not under your control. This is, this gives an amazing, powerful peace of mind. Because if I'm a salesperson with a company, human company, my target should be the results. Otherwise, I will be fired. Simply, logic, mathematics. With Allah, don't think about do your best, but the results not under your control. Allah will hold you accountable according to what you control. I control the intention plus efforts as long as I can. If I've done them, alhamdulillah, the gate of the Jannah will be open for me, not the results. And what about if because of your sincerity, because of your, this kind of purity of your heart, Allah might really reward you with tens of what you do not expect. Now, with this, let's say, vibe, with this spirit, one should not stop unless Allah takes his or her soul. That's it. Alhamdulillah ala ni'mat al-Islam. Allah, we thank Allah for our great religion. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala respected Sister Arshia, Brother Ayman, and everyone behind the scene who's working with you on this great job, and anyone who's supporting any oppressed on earth. May Allah accept from your efforts and give you, inshallah, the barakah, the blessings, the acceptance, and may Allah elevate you to the best level of acceptance in the day of judgment and in the dunya, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. Really, I'm honored really to have you on my Facebook. Alhamdulillah, Allah blessed us by having this kind of individual means so that we can spread this beautiful, word. Jazakumullah khairan. Thank you very much. I personally ask your dua because you are in the front line supporting those oppressed people. Wallahi, as they say, أغبطكم in Arabic. Al-Ghibta in Arabic has no translation in English except by saying I envy you in a good sense.
Barakallah fiqh. We look forward to welcome you to US, inshallah.
Inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. Barakallah. By the way, you said that you have 100 masjid. Do you have a good place for kunafa and hummus?
We
Of
do.
course we do.
Come to Chicago.
Okay,
Take care of you.
If that's the case, we will come.
We will,
Tell us in Chicago.
By the way,
both compete.
in Toronto, we have a very good places for this. I'm not sure if we can compete But we have something really very special, and Sister Arshia knows that.
I do. Chicago.
We'll come in the summer when it is warmer, inshallah, over there.
Inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. Thank you very much. See you, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Barakallah. Hayakallah.
Inshallah.
Hayakallah.